Even getting to a level of competency at a fighting game is honestly one of the hardest things to accomplish in video games. It requires hours of dedication, and I'm not just talking about spending hours in the training mode getting your execution down pat. There's an overwhelming amount of unique terminology, concepts, and even frame data that goes into fighting games. Street Fighter V is no different, but the good news is that the Street Fighter franchise is more approachable than ever for newbies. And if you're having trouble finding success online, here are 10 surefire ways to get better at Street Fighter V. Number 1. Before you learn combos, learn the fundamentals. One of the big mistakes that people who don't understand fighting games make is that they think it's all about the combos. It's not, especially not in Street Fighter V. When you choose a character, take some time to run through all of their moves. Get a feel for which moves can be used in different situations. If a move looks like it hits high, chances are it can be used as an anti-air to punish enemies that try to jump in on you. Moves with far reach can be used as pokes, which can help establish your range and provoke a predictable response out of your enemy. Find out what moves hit low and which ones are overheads. Low hits can damage enemies blocking high, while overheads can break through enemies who are blocking low. Also, don't forget about your aerial attacks as well. Try to find out what aerial attacks will net you the best opportunities for combos, which ones are good for air-to-air, and most importantly, which aerial attacks can be used as cross-ups. Which leads us to number 2. Use and defend against cross-ups. A cross-up is an attack that hits just behind the opponent, forcing them to change the direction of their block or get hit. It's a devastating technique against players that aren't familiar with the concept, especially since many big damage combos can start when you land an aerial attack. Also note that aerial attacks are overhead, so not only do you have to block in the right direction, but you also have to be using a standing guard as opposed to a crouching guard. Once you've got the concept of cross-ups down, head into training mode and get to know the spacing required to hit a cross-up. A good time to try to cross the opponent up is after a knockdown, so learn where you need to be before you jump in order for the cross-up to land. As effective as cross-ups are though, they lead into another huge mistake that newcomers to fighting games make. Number 3. Stop jumping so much! Learning when and when not to jump is a tricky thing when it comes to fighting games. As mentioned before, a successful jump attack can lead to huge damage, which makes it appealing to frequently go for them. But it's a risk versus reward scenario. If your opponent is prepared for them, jump attacks are easy to predict and punish, which will knock you down to the ground and change the momentum in your opponent's favor. Test the waters early on in the match and see how your opponent reacts to your jump-ins. If they punish it with an anti-air, ease off and approach from the ground unless an opening appears. If not, teach them a lesson of what happens when you neglect to punish the jump-in. Number 4. Strikes, blocks, and throws. A common analogy used when talking about the design of fighting games is that it's a bit comparable to rock, paper, scissors. Just like paper beats rock, rock beats scissors, and scissors beats paper, in fighting games, blocks beat strikes, strikes beat throws, and throws beat blocks. And just like in rock, paper, scissors, how a person will likely beat you if they catch on to the fact that you never use scissors or paper, a person in a fighting game will very likely beat you if they catch on to the fact that you never use blocks or throws. So mix it up! React to the opponent's playstyle. If they favor a turtle style that has them constantly blocking until an opening appears, dash in and throw them until they stop doing that. If a person keeps on throwing you, either use quick jabs to force them away, use your own throw to break theirs, or do a neutral jump to avoid it and then punish them on the way down. Number 5. Know your character archetype. Characters in Street Fighter V boil down to 4 different archetypes: offensive, balanced, defensive, and grapplers. It's important to know what kind of character you're playing and adjust your playstyle to best complement that character. Offensive characters like Cammy, Karine, and Akali excel at rushing down opponents, utilizing their quick attacks to keep the pressure on, preventing their opponent from starting their own offense, and forcing them into making risky moves to stop the pressure. Ryu, Nash, and Chun-Li are examples of balanced characters who excel at the mid-range and can adapt either an offensive or defensive strategy depending on what the situation calls for. Defensive characters like Dhalsim, Fong, and Vega like to stay at long range and use their reach to keep enemies at a distance. Finally, grapplers like Zangief, Armika, and Birdie will deal a lot of their big damage through the usage of devastating and unblockable throws, making them an enormous threat at close range. Each archetype has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's important to know both so you can try to take advantage of your strengths and find ways to mitigate your weaknesses as much as possible. Number 6. Hit confirm, hit confirm, hit confirm. A big thing that I personally struggled with was that once I actually did learn combos, I got so focused on executing them, I didn't pay attention to whether the beginning of the combo was blocked. Combo enders are typically hugely punishable, which makes it very dangerous to continue a combo to completion if the first few hits are blocked. This is why it's important to do what's called a hit confirm. For example, let's say you have a 3-hit combo with the first 2 hits being normal attacks and the 3rd hit being a special move. You use the first hit to check the opponent's guard. The second hit acts as a buffer to let your reflexes kick in, and then you either finish the combo if the hit's landed, or you cut it off right there, either to continue with more safe pressure, dash in to throw, or block if you anticipate a retaliation. Number 7. Use your meters. This seems obvious, but a lot of new players don't realize the importance of utilizing their 2 meters. Your critical gauge is filled by landing attacks, while the V gauge is filled when you take damage. Critical arts are the most obvious use of critical gauges for newcomers, but don't neglect your EX moves. EX moves can be executed by entering the command for a move, but pressing 2 buttons of the same type instead of just 1. So, for example, Ryu's Hadouken. He can do an enhanced version by doing quarter circle forward and any 2 punch buttons to make the fireball go through other projectiles, do extra damage, and be safe on block. Most EX moves correct some kind of disadvantage that a character has, making it extremely valuable when it comes to finding a way to gain an advantage on your opponent. Also, always keep an eye on your V gauge as well. V triggers, which are activated by pressing both heavy attacks at the same time, offer up extremely powerful buffs that can quickly turn the tide of a round. Note that while critical gauges hold over from round to round, V gauges do not. So there's absolutely no reason to not use it if you get the chance. Number 8. Cool it on the wake-up reversals. Several characters like Ryu, Ken, and Cammy have invincible wake-up reversal attacks like the Shoryuken and Cannon Spike that are excellent when it comes to dealing with extremely aggressive opponents that try to hit you when you're waking up. While this is a good tactic to always keep in mind, you should know that whiffing on one of these attacks will almost certainly mean eating a full crush counter combo that will eat about 1/4 of your life bar, if not more. Try to get a feel for how your opponent reacts to your wake up. If they're constantly going for what are known as meaty attacks when you rise up, then by all means, hit them with wake up reversals all day until they stop. Number 9. Crush counters. Speaking of crush counters, you should know about them as well in case you come across an opponent that just loves to throw out Shoryukens all day. Using a heavy counterattack on specific risky moves will result in a crush counter, which puts the enemy into a temporary stunned state and allows for an extremely dangerous follow-up combo. When playing against characters like Ryu, Ken, Cammy, Nikali, and even Karin, always be ready to use crush counters whenever you block one of their powerful anti-air attacks. Wait for them to touch the ground, hit them with a fierce, and then quickly follow up with your strongest combo. Number 10. Never stop learning. Just like anything else you want to get good at, never assume that you know everything. These tips will get you far, but they only scratch the surface. Your next step is to take a look at the frame data for your moves, get a feel for which moves are safe, which moves are unsafe, and use that knowledge to inform whether you're able to punish a move or whether you should keep blocking. Watch streams of pro players using your characters and note not just the combos that they use, but their spacing, their mind games, their tendencies, and find ways to incorporate them into your own play. And there you have it! 10 surefire ways to get better at Street Fighter V. Take these with you into battle and rise up! Let us know in the comments if you found this video to be helpful, or if you have your own tips that you think we missed out on. And hey, if you did enjoy the video, drop us a like and subscribe to Segment Next for more awesome videos. Till next time!